Okay, my name is Trevor Lindsey, and I've been associated with Alembic since 1978. A few years ago, actually quite a few years ago, Alembic approached me, and because I was a luthier working on acoustic guitars, and they had a desire to produce an acoustic guitar, we collaborated on a design. I designed actually a couple of guitars for them and built prototypes here. But the Alembic Element is what came out of our collaboration, and I am really pleased with the detail, the problems that were solved with this guitar. From being a luthier, I've seen so many issues on the bench that I just knew I needed to address in an acoustic, because I'm constantly fixing old or poor design in guitars, and this Alembic Element solves all of those issues that I wanted to take care of. I don't like the 14th fret hump, which is where the fingerboard comes up to the body and then has to be pulled down to glue to a flat top. I also don't like bellying at the bridge, which is unnecessary. I also don't like having to do neck resets, especially prematurely. I mean, I'm seeing so many guitars now that are not even 10 years old and need a neck reset, and that's unforgivable in my opinion. So I want to take care of those things. I also wanted to have a very solid neck joint that didn't require a bunch of bolts or something that got or any kind of chance to have a weaker joint that wasn't really solid with the body. And I solved that as well. So let me go through these things. I guess we'll start with the neck joint. On the Alembic Element, we run a rod inside the neck heel from top to bottom, and it has a single hole drilled in it, and we use a single bolt attachment going through the neck block from the inside of the guitar. And by running that rod top to bottom, it gives even pressure all the way from top to bottom of that neck heel, and allows it to mate up beautifully with the back of the body, so that you've got a very solid joint that's got even pressure. There's no chance of it, feeling weak or wanting to tilt or allowing, an air gap in there from pulling on the bolt at one point and not pulling the rest of the neck in. And it certainly avoids having to have any kind of a nutsert into the neck, which they always fail. They're just they're problematic. They can move, they can shift, they can tear out. So didn't want any of that. So we did that with the neck joint to solve that issue. Now, as far as the fingerboard coming up to the body and having to pull down, creating that 14th fret hump, I solved that by avoiding the ultra flat top that you see on Martins and Gibsons, which is like a 50-foot radius. And I cut that in half and went with a 25-foot radius. So there is a slight arch to the top, but what it does is it allows that fingerboard to hit the top and have a perfect ramp up to the bridge. So when you've got that fingerboard extension on the top and it has to be glued down, you don't have to pull on it, you don't have to tug on it. It actually mates perfectly with the top and just continues its trajectory up to the bridge. And that got rid of that 14 fret hump completely. The other thing, by going with the 25-foot radius on top, allows the top to counteract the tendency for the bridge to want to lift or pull up and creates a belly or a hump in the soundboard up there, and you just don't want that. It acts like a Roman arch almost, and it when you brace it into that 25-foot radius, the braces are actually helping to pull back down on that bridge, and it allows the equilibrium of the tension of the strings wanting to pull up and the top wanting to counteract and pull back down. So the top stays stable, you don't get the belly, you don't get the hump, and it just makes a huge difference for the stability of the top. The other thing I did with the bracing, which is really unusual, is I kept it a fairly standardized forward X brace, which everybody knows and loves, and it works well. It keeps the top, real solid and stable, but it also gives you a tone that everybody has heard for the last 100 years on every recording. So you're not going to go into a crazy sound or tone from the guitar that you're unfamiliar with and is just odd. There's a lot of builders today doing some very strange stuff, and it creates a guitar that is unfamiliar and not necessarily pleasing to the ears. So by keeping it that standard forward X bracing, I'm still hearkening back to the sound you're used to, but it is distinctly Alembic as well, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I've changed the bracing profile. Instead of going with a fairly low brace that's kind of on the wide side to side, side, I don't want to have a massive glue joint that's basically a tone killer for the top. So by narrowing the brace and creating a taller profile on it, actually at the scallops, we're talking about an inch tall. What it does is decreases that tone deadening glue joint on the top, and what it also does is increases the rigidity and also flexibility of that brace, and in a way where it acts like a beam in a house. You wouldn't have your roof held up by a wide flat beam. It wouldn't do anything. The roof would sag, and that's what I'm trying to avoid by going with that taller profiled bracing. And so doing that gives better support to the top, but keeping it narrow doesn't deaden tone by a wide glue surface. And that brace, being as thin as it is and as tall as it is, it actually vibrates well with the top. It's sort of a sympathetic vibration that occurs with it, and it allows that top to really sing. And one of the things that's true for the Alembic Element is that from day one you're going to get a guitar that sounds broken in without trying to do it by going too thin or underbuilding the guitar. I see that a lot on builders that are trying to make the guitar sound good from day one, but they're building it so lightly that you're going to have problems. This guitar is solid, and the sustain is incredible on it, and the tone is unique to Alembic, but still is familiar enough where you enjoy it. The other reason why this guitar has great sustain and a higher volume output than most new guitars is because I am specifically speccing the bridge saddle at a tall height. It's it's fairly tall, like a 1/4 inch tall. And the reason for that is twofold. One, it increases the brake angle over the backside of the saddle and thus increases string tension a bit, and that increases the pressure down on the top. And what that does is it really changes the volume. It boosts the volume. It also creates better sustain in the guitar, and it really does tighten up the low end and gives better clarity on the high end. So all in all, it's a huge win. But the other major plus is that you've got a lot of saddle there, and even though I've done everything to create a very solid body that's not gonna sag or bow or create issues at the sound hole where it's going to start to droop, you're going to have a lot of saddle there to adjust as the guitar ages. If there is any movement in the guitar where it wants to basically move so that you're going to need a neck reset, you won't need a neck reset in your lifetime. I really don't think there's a situation that would happen where you would need to pull that neck off to reset it so that you've got good action again. There's plenty of saddle there. You can take it down over the years if there's any movement, but you're starting with a great sound, volume, and a situation where you're likely not going to need that major maintenance over the years. Other than that, everything on the guitar is harkening back to Alembic design. You'll see that it has a point on the bottom. That is really one of the Alembic trademarks. The bridge is a bird style bridge, which also has a lot of Alembic influence. You'll see the typical hippie sandwich in the neck with the 5-piece neck, the multi-laminate headstock, and even some Purple Heart laminates here and there with maple for purfling, and even the back brace on the inside of the guitar as well as the side bracing will have a Purple Heart little laminate in there. It's a little pinstripe that once again is that typical Alembic design aesthetic. All the bracing is high quality Adirondack spruce. The tops, you can order them as you wish. They can be Sitka or just about anything else that is of Alembic caliber. And once again, you can work with different body woods as well, so back and sides can vary as well. But the main thing is that this guitar is well thought out. It solved major issues that I just don't want to see on my bench anymore. And it's a thing of beauty because Alembic does not turn out anything that isn't top quality. And I'm so pleased that we were able to make this happen with them. Anyway, take care. I hope you see one of these soon. They're a fantastic instrument.